Hey guys, Benjy here. So today I want to talk about a topic that is coming up very often, especially recently in conversations that our team and especially I have been talking with a lot of matching candidates recently who have brought up the topic of pornography in the matching process. So the question and the concern, also the dilemma that a lot of couples are in is that they are looking to get matched and blessed with an individual, and they're in a matching process and everything's going well, and then the conversation of pornography, masturbation, sexual integrity comes up, and they don't really know how to navigate this, because we always recommend that this is part of the conversation to get to know someone in the matching process, as part of the 7-month time frame to get to know somebody before you commit to receiving the blessing. You spend time actually asking these really important questions, and one of them is, what is your relationship with pornography? What is your experience with pornography and masturbation, and your overall sexual integrity, and how is that going? And so the dilemma people have is that they're in a matching process and they have had recently a number of sexual mistakes and slip-ups and misconduct, or a number of issues that are habits that come up, in particular a pornography or masturbation habit. And so they come to us and they just don't know, like, do I just say no? Like, is this a red flag? Do I just not continue with it? Oh, I don't know what to do. And this is a really important question that I want to answer here for you guys. So the bottom line is that the BFM, the Blessing and Family Ministry, we have a strong recommendation that an individual is abstinent from pornography, abstains from pornography use for 1 year before they receive the blessing. That is our strong recommendation. However, of course, the nature of addiction, the nature of a porn habit, a sexual addiction, is not so black and white as to say that, after a certain year of this abstaining, then they'll be, of course they wouldn't be, have the issue at all. In many cases, it's the opposite. For myself, I was, abstained from pornography for years before receiving the blessing. And then after receiving the blessing, soon after, I was really hit with a strong temptation to go back to my old habit. And this is extremely common that people find themselves in, where they abstain for very long. They feel like they have everything under control, and then they're in a relationship and something happens, or the stresses of life come up, and then they go back into their old habit. It's very, very common. So the question is, how do you have this conversation, and what is kind of the guideline for how to decide how to move forward in a relationship? And by the way, I should mention that this is not a uniquely male issue. We're seeing that this is happening in matching processes, both on the male and female side of things. So it's absolutely not one-sided. And so my best recommendation to you guys, if you're in this situation, or if you know someone in this situation, is if the individual that has the habit is, number one, if they're getting help, currently getting help, meaning that they're in some kind of program, ideally that they're in this situation, if they're connected with High Noon, if they're in a High Noon group, then that's a very, very good sign that they are very serious about it and that they are getting better. So that's number one, is that they're getting better. Number two is that they're seeing progress. If they're seeing progress in their recovery from this habit, that's a very good sign that it's really an important consideration to have. And number three is if they're honest about it. Okay, so if they have an ongoing habit, even during your communication, even during your matching process, if they're having an ongoing habit with this, which happens in relationships, then if they're honest about it, if they'll come forth and report to you that they had a slip up, or they made a mistake, or something of that nature, that's a really good sign that they're an honest person. If they're getting help, if they're really serious about getting help, if they're getting better, and if they're being honest, those are good indicators. It's not a hard rule to say that if they're doing these things, then absolutely you should get matched to them and receive the blessing. No, that is your decision to make. That is ultimately your decision to make. But if they're doing those things, it's a really good indicator. And I would say honestly that you should really seriously consider, and not just say blatantly like, oh, this isn't gonna work, this is red flag. And the reason I want to say that, it's really important not to come at the situation with judgment or taking it personally, because the reality is that if someone has a sexual addiction, a porn habit, it actually, and if you're very, very new in the relationship and you're just trying to get to know them, there is really nothing, there's nothing that, there's no connection really from their addiction to you. It is not a personal attack or disdain for you. It's not something that is your fault or your responsibility even, but it's really obviously something that's going on internally. There's some woundedness, there's some hurt, there's some inner work that needs to be done on them. And that's really part of the program, a part of what High Noon does. So I really would encourage you, but also the individual to check out highnoon.org and get support from them and really learn about it. So I want to show you guys some really important statistics that we have on our own blessed families and their pornography use within our faith community. Before I do that, I want to say that if you find yourself in this situation, it can be very challenging to know how to bring it up. That's a common issue people have, is they want to talk about the sexual integrity, pornography, sexual habits, but it's hard to talk about in a matching process. It's very sensitive. We don't want to offend somebody. We don't want to have any assumptions or jump to conclusions. So I would say a good way to bring this up is number one is you can just go through the list of 40 questions that the BFM recommends that you ask in a matching process. And then, so it's just understood from the beginning of your process that we're going to go through these questions, and one of those questions goes into pornography, masturbation. So that's one way to do it. Just have an understanding that you're going to be asking these questions so they know it's going to come up. But also, you don't know, like if it comes up one time, maybe it's going to come up another time. You don't know how to bring it up again. Maybe you have to bring it up in another way. So in that case, you can try writing a letter to them, writing an email to make it less personal, and kind of ask the question and give them some time to think about a response and how to respond. And another way to get this conversation going, and I think is probably one of the most important ways, is to start the conversation by being vulnerable yourself and sharing something from your own experience or your own life that maybe incites or inspires or encourages them to bring it up on their own. And I think that's a really clever way as well. So ultimately, if you're in a situation like this, you shouldn't be surprised if pornography comes up in a relationship. Most of the time, it always does. In fact, we recommend that this is a topic that is brought up on purpose so that you can actually address it and have a conversation about it. Because the reality is, guys, this over-sexualized culture, pornography, whatever you want to call it, is impacting our lives, our culture, our environment, our mindset, our eyes, the way that we view each other, the way that we view the opposite gender, the way we view marriage, everything. It's affecting us whether we like it or not, whether we're directly watching porn or not. So for that reason, I want to share some statistics just to show you guys how important this is, but also how prevalent porn habits are in the matching process. So this is a survey that High Noon did with about 1,000 workshop participants from high school, college age. These are young adults, men, women from all over the world. This is not region specific or country specific. This is America, Europe, Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, Africa, all over, okay? So here we go. So of the 1,000 participants that responded to a survey about their pornography use, of the men, 82% of the men intentionally accessed porn in the last 6 months. 82%. And 68% of men access porn at least monthly. 34% of men access porn at least multiple times per week. For women, 48% intentionally accessed porn in the last 6 months. 48%. For women, 31% access porn at least monthly, and 10% access porn at least multiple times per week. Okay, so keeping these stats in mind, 85% have never spoken with a parent about their habit. 66% have no one to help them quit. They believe they have nobody to help them. 77% believe porn is causing them harm, and get this, 74% believe it will have a negative impact on their blessing. And 63% have tried to quit but have been unable to. All right, so the reason I'm sharing these statistics with you all is not to scare you or not to frighten you in any way away from being in a relationship or considering this, but actually to shed some light on the reality and to shed some light on the fact that isn't it actually really important to know this? Isn't it helpful to know that regardless of who you're talking with in a matching process, whether man, woman, this is a conversation that will come up, and statistically speaking, more than likely will be an ongoing conversation in the matching process. In fact, I want to show you guys some really important individuals that have come forward and shared their testimony, right? We know some of these. These are all people that have shared their own experience with dealing with a porn habit and having honest conversations with their parents, with their spouse, with their matching partner, and receiving the blessing, right? This is beautiful. And in fact, in 2018, this is a group of the North American couples went to Korea. Of this group of individuals, we had over a dozen couples who have been through a high noon program, where one of the individuals in the couple had been through a high noon program. And then again, in 2020, we had over a dozen couples go through a high noon program. So this is just to highlight the fact that of all the couples that receive the blessing, a good majority of them, a good portion of them, have to have this kind of conversation. It's a conversation that does come up, and the way they navigate it is what's important. The way they communicate about it, the way that they deal with it is not, if you have a habit that you're making a personal attack or assault on me as the matching partner or the spouse, but rather that how can we as a team address this issue and come at it as a team and look at it from that perspective. And if you can become like that, then you can address the issue. Then you can work together in a productive and proactive way. And then maybe you can help others and you can raise your children in that environment. So I'm sharing this with you guys because I think it's really just beautiful. I think that the individuals that are going through High Noon's program or any program to get control of their sexual integrity, of their sexual urges, and direct that sexual energy in a productive way. That's what all these couples that I'm showing you have been doing. Taking that energy and creating something and investing it into their relationship. They're getting support. They're definitely improving in their habits. In many cases, have completely eliminated porn from their lives. And they're just developing the muscle of honesty, the muscle of integrity. These are the most marriageable people of the decade that I've been working with matching candidates and helping them to receive the blessing. These individuals who take their sexual integrity seriously are the most qualified and most marriageable individuals to receive the blessing, because they're living a life of honesty, because they're living a life of integrity, and they're living a life of putting my own personal growth and my ability and capacity to love people before just getting married for the sake of getting married, getting matched and blessed just for the sake of fulfilling some need or desire that I have to be in a relationship. But first they're putting, how can I become an individual, an outstanding, extraordinary person, a loving person for my spouse? And it's those people, it's you guys who are watching these videos and smashing the like button and subscribing and sharing these videos because you believe that it's an important investment of your time and energy to work on yourself, to prepare yourself. And if you do that, the more you invest now, the more dividends those investments will show later on in your life, in your marriage. They will. Okay? So I really hope this video is helpful. Again, you can feel free to share it with your family or people that you want to care about. We're just trying to help you guys. Thanks for watching. God bless. We love you. Take care.